We're all taught the same story in school. 10,000 years ago, humans were living in caves. There were no cities, no kings, no gods. We were hunter-gatherers until suddenly we weren't. 12,000 years ago, humans were supposed to be primitive. But then they found this. A temple older than Stonehenge, a site with stones weighing 100 tons, cut with impossible precision, a civilization that shouldn't exist. This is not history, this is a cover-up. In this series, we uncover lost histories, mysteries buried by time and ignored by mainstream science. Are you ready? Because here are the 5 places that prove history is a lie. No. 5. Göbekli Tepe. We begin our journey in Turkey, where between 9600 and 8000 BC, someone constructed a monumental temple complex at Göbekli Tepe. The site was occupied until 6400 BC, which means people lived there for over 3,000 years. But who? The earliest humans, maybe. Well, if we follow the official narrative, about 12,000 years ago, humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers. The idea of settling down in one place, let alone building an entire settlement, would have been unheard of. And yet, here we have evidence of that very thing. What's more, these weren't just crude huts or tents. Excavations show purpose-built, round houses with floors made from crushed stone and red ochre. But there's something else. Archaeologists also found animal bones with marks left by stone tools, meaning that early humans hunted animals for food, contradicting the idea that they were primitive hunter-gatherers. All this begs the question, if humans were so primitive, how did they do it? It gets better. Nearby, they found pillars shaped like bulls and lions carved with painstaking detail. Many are up to 6 meters tall and weigh several tons. But that's nothing compared to the main attraction, a T-shaped pillar over 18 meters high and weighing 70 tons. The sheer size of the structure is astonishing. It would have taken hundreds of workers months to construct. But wait, there's more. Every pillar acts like a giant sundial. They line up perfectly with the sunrise on the summer solstice and the sunset on the winter solstice. Somebody spent a lot of time planning this site. But mainstream archaeologists argue that early humans couldn't possibly have done any of this. So they claim that a mysterious group called the Pre-Pottery Neolithic, PPN, must have built it. But who were they? Well, that's a great question. Unfortunately, mainstream archaeologists don't know the answer. They simply refuse to accept the possibility that humans could have been so advanced so early on. In fact, just a decade ago, they thought Göbekli Tepe was a natural formation, but recent evidence proves that somebody created it. As for who, well, they may never tell us. Number 4, Puma Punku. But now it's time to turn up the heat. And what better place to do it than Puma Punku in Bolivia? High in the Andes Mountains, Puma Punku translates to the place of the dead. But it was probably a ceremonial center. And yet the scale and complexity defy belief. Thousands of stones precisely cut and arranged in perfect shapes. But how did they get there? Some are huge, weighing up to 130 tons. Others are massive doorways nearly 4 meters tall. They were either quarried nearby or brought there by a sophisticated transport system. But that raises another question. How did they move these giant stones? Mainstream experts say primitive tools. But look closer. Many stones are shaped like I-beams. Was this really done with stone tools? Or is this evidence of lost technology? Take this doorway. Who decided it needed to be there? Why did they make it perfectly level? And how did they make sure each block fit together with such precision? Mainstream scientists say the stones were cast like a metal mold. But who designed them? For what purpose? And how did they manage to cut through the stones without modern tools? No. 3. Sumer. According to official sources, the Sumerians, they appeared out of nowhere around 2600 BC. They built city-states, invented math, law, writing, and astronomy. They developed plows, wagons, and boats. They also claimed that their knowledge came from gods who visited Earth in ancient times. The Sumerians called them Anunnaki. They said that the Anunnaki were gods from the planet Nibiru, which mainstream astronomers claim doesn't exist. But the Sumerians described Nibiru in such detail that mainstream experts believe it's just a myth. However, many scholars have pointed out that the Sumerian descriptions match the orbit of Planet X, a real planet that has an elliptical orbit taking 3,600 years. But mainstream astronomers ignore them. Instead, they push the idea that Sumerians were uncivilized nomads who couldn't even write. But here's the catch. They talked about planets, moons, and eclipses long before they existed. And yet mainstream historians argue that they were primitives. It makes no sense. What happens when we combine all of this? Göbekli Tepe, Puma Punku, Sumer. What conclusion do we come to? 3 places, 3 continents, 3 undeniable patterns. Cast stones, precise alignments, gigantic structures that shouldn't exist. Second, we see evidence of a lost civilization. Third, some say that the evidence points to extraterrestrials. Contact from beyond our world. Ancient astronauts who helped build these monuments. Gods who gave mankind knowledge and wisdom. But here's the best part. What if they're all true? What if we uncovered a lost history? What if we discovered proof of a hidden past? Before we continue, remember, everything mainstream media tells us is a lie. From vaccines to elections, nothing is off limits. And that includes this channel. Our videos often get demonetized. Our accounts get deleted. Our live streams get taken down. That's why we started our own platform. On Nebula, we publish exclusive videos not available anywhere else, like The Secret Origins of Jesus Christ and Ancient Aliens and the Builders of the Pyramids. Plus, we have a new show called UFOs Caught on Camera. Each episode is an in-depth analysis of the world's most famous UFO videos. Take a look for yourself. We also have fantastic shows from other creators like The History Guy and Mightier Than God. It's the best way to support independent creators like us and watch exclusive videos. Sign up today. It's only $3 a month. And now, number 2, the Great Flood. Remember what we uncovered so far? Advanced civilizations, unexplained technology, mysterious gods. They all point to the same thing, a golden age before the Great Flood. In 2014, geologist Andrew Collins published The Case for a Seefalsch-Geschichte. He uncovered evidence that ancient civilizations flourished for at least 12,000 years. Then, around 11,500 years ago, there was a cataclysmic flood that wiped them all out. The survivors retreated to isolated pockets across the globe. Over time, the memories faded. We lost the story of our true origins. The truth is buried beneath 12,000 years of lies. But there's more. Humanity entered a dark age, a time of hardship that lasted 1,000 years. Only after that did we enter the Stone Age, a period of cultural evolution spanning 10,000 years. What's the significance? Simple. We evolved as a species throughout 12,000 years of peace and prosperity. Then our development stalled for 1,000 years during the Ice Age. Finally, we began our journey towards civilization. A golden age followed by regression, followed by a new beginning. Everything changed with the Great Flood. Now we arrive at the final piece of the puzzle. Number 1, the hidden past. We found a bunch of random stuff and we're connecting the dots. That's 8 followed by 18 zeros. In other words, it's impossible. Someone hid our history. Something happened 12,000 years ago. But what? Well, here are a few possibilities. Ancient astronauts visited from a world beyond our own. They gave us knowledge, showed us how to build, and then left. They showed us how to farm, how to write, how to reach the stars. They lit the spark of civilization. But here's another theory. Back then, humans lived in harmony. But then the Great Flood came. The world changed. We lost everything. Only fragments remain in our myths and legends. For example, the biblical story of Noah's Ark mirrors the Sumerian tale of Ziusudra. Both stories are about a great flood sent by the gods. So what's the truth? We really don't know. But here's what we do know. You wouldn't be here watching this video if you weren't curious. You wouldn't be seeking the truth if you weren't hungry for answers. The truth is out there. We just need to find it. Thanks for watching.